Portrait of a Lady is real story of writer's grandmother. The name of the writer is Khuswant Singh. His grandmother was an old lady. Writer tells us the story of childhood that he spent with his grandmother. The writer has explained his relationship with his grandmother over the year. He also mentioned her appearance with assist in creating a mental impression of her in the reader's mind. So let's start with the summary. The chapter Portrait of Lady is the story of author and his grandmother. The grandmother was an old woman with a wrinkled face. The author had always seen her like this for past 20 years. She appeared to so old that he could not imagine her being young and pretty and someone who had a husband. She was short, fat, and slightly bended. The author had seen his grandfather's portrait, an old man with turban and long white beard covering his chest. To the author, his grandfather did not seem like a man who could not have a wife and children, but someone who could have lots of grandchildren. His grandmother used to move around the house in spotless white, with her one hand resting on waist and other hand counting the beat of the rosary. The author and his grandmother had a good relationship. She used to wake him up and get him ready for school. And also, she used to pack the things required by him for the day and walk him to school every day. She used to visit the temple that was attached to the school. He attended classes while his grandmother read scriptures inside the temple. After school, his grandmother could feed stale chapatis to the village dogs who could follow them home, fighting for chapatis. There came a turning point in author's life when his parents called him and his grandmother to the city where they had finally settled down. The author started attending an English school and his grandmother no longer together with him to school. There were no dogs in streets, so she feed sparrows, and their relationship began to change. She would ask him about the school and he could tell her about the different concepts of Western science and learning. The grandmother could not help him with this kind of lesson at school. It made her unhappy. She became more disturbed to know that there was no lesson on board and that music lessons were given at school. She became less friendly towards the author after learning this. When the author went to university, the friendship between him and his grandmother was broken. He stayed at university and his grandmother spent her day sitting at her spinning wheel and followed by afternoon when she could feed the sparrow. When the author decided to go abroad for further education, he expected that his grandmother to be upset about it. But to his surprise, she was not. Instead, she accompanied him to station to see him off and said goodbye with a silent prayer and a kiss on his forehead. He has imagined this to be his last physical meeting with his grandmother. After 5 years, when the author returned, he found his grandmother looking the same as she used to a year ago and not a day older. She welcomed him with a silent prayer and did not talk. Her happiest moment on the first day of his arrival was during the afternoon she spent with the sparrows. In the evening, she collected some of women for the neighborhood and sang songs about the homecoming of warriors and beat the drums. The author and his family tried her to stop so she did not overstrain herself. The next morning, the author's grandmother fell ill and a mild fever. While the doctor informed him that it could be subside quickly, she was sure that her end was near. She expressed her desire to pray rather than talk to him, since she was left with only a few hours her to life. So she did not want to waste her time talking to anyone in the family anymore, but spent last hours in reciting her prayer. Laying on the bed, she died, and So her body lay on the bed, lifeless. And everyone felt sorry about the sparrows, and the author's mother tried to feed some breadcrumbs to the sparrows, but they did not seem to notice the food. When his grandmother was carried away, the sparrows flew away quietly. So here chapter ends.